Good evening, friends of Ray J's recording studio. Welcome back. Um, this is actually, let's see, Tuesday, December 17th. Yesterday I did a video about my gear and all the walkthroughs. And I was going to first cover, my step-by-step process on recording. So I'm definitely going to do that. But first things first, I wanted to discuss. I had an old session, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, since you're working on this project, hey, why don't you send me an MP3 of it?" Now, I dumped a ton of tracks on this. In my opinion, I think it's a ton of tracks. I think I have on this one session, which is totally crazy, ridiculous, but to my standard, it sounds crazy and ridiculous. But I believe I have a total of 41 tracks, and then the mix buses. And I'm not even sure why I even did what I did when I was recording this, but I just overloaded it, and I wanted to see how far my CPU could go up. Now, I put a bunch of plugins on everything, guitars. I used Positive Grid for the guitar as some guitar plugins. I think actually, as a matter of fact, all these plugins, all the guitar stuff and everything is all amp sims on here. And just a bunch of, after the fact that it was recorded, and I added a bunch of stuff in, a bunch of fluff, I call it. And it's crazy. I haven't pulled this session up in a long time, and I couldn't. I just going through my hard drive and the CPU, just using all the plugins. With the maximum here, there was 41 actual tracks. Then with the mix buses, along with the inserts on the mix buses, along with the output, I have Steven Slate's FGX on the post, and then on an insert I have a Pro EQ from Presonus Studio One, and then on every single channel I have some sort of EQ or compressors and all kinds of stuff. I mean, just a ton of stuff on here, and it didn't make like the song or the recording sound any better, really. I mean, yeah, I cleaned it up, maybe brought things up, but overall, plus I was just kind of demoing the idea of like what I was looking for in the song is me singing, and thank God my friend Shane's going to be doing this. And what I did was I was recording this song. I think a step down in recording as far as my tuning on my guitar, but I decided to take this down to B the second time around. So, which is pretty cool. It adds a little more depth to it. Plus, his range and where he's at, I think he'll be able to handle it. So, but it's funny. I wanted to show you this just so you get kind of an idea now to see what it's doing. I'm going to turn the camera around here so you can see. Now, if you look here, this is the performance monitor. CPU's halfway already. All right, so once I start engaging the tracks and get them going, this thing starts really spiking out. It starts like going crazy. Now there's some fixes for that, but at the end of the day, it's how you manage your tracks. And so what I wanted to do was get back to what I was saying before. Really, it's so important to get a good sound coming into to your DAW, and you're using your audio interface right, and then utilizing the plugins. So I was watching a couple different YouTube episodes from different guys. This one guy was saying about using plugins on the input side of the channel, and I never did that. I always thought, okay, I'm going to plug a guitar in or plug a microphone in, record my track, make sure my levels are good, make sure I'm not, peaking out in any way, and then make sure my levels are good, and then put a plug-in on the insert. And Now, granted, on the output side of it with an insert, you could say a couple things. You could say, well, I have total manipulation of that track. I can, change the insert, get rid of the insert because it doesn't sound right in the mix, blah blah blah, and that is that's true. And there are a lot of different things, like I was telling you before. There's a lot of new stuff out there, a lot of new interfaces from Universal Audio, and I think Antelope. A friend of mine, Howard, just got an Antelope, and he says that they got these chips in it now that can handle the load of the processor for the insert effects. So all those effects just kind of bog down the CPU on your computer, so you can get glitches and pops and all that stuff. So I'm going to try to I'm going to play this so you get an idea of what I'm talking about. But kind of what I'm trying to get back to was the whole point is, like, utilizing the things that you have. You have all this gear, and it's kind of making the best of your situation. So working smart, not hard. And this was one of the things that, like, as a learning process that I'm learning as I'm recording more and more, that there's some workarounds. And if it wasn't for one guy posting it on YouTube about, he uses guitar plugins like Positive Grid, and he records them to print. So he's very happy with his guitar sound. So he's messed with this sound until he's got it where he's very content with the sound that's going to the recording itself. And I think that's pretty cool. If that works for you, it worked for him, and I've done it on a couple things so far, and amazingly enough, I have not had any CPU crashes. And even though I talked about this yesterday, was about the, I got 16 gigs of RAM, and a lot of times everything works. I'm not having any problems. I pull this thing up, and today I have to laugh because it is a situation. It just started going crazy, and I'm calling up a session on a hard drive. This is a 7,200 RPM hard drive, 1 terabyte that I've had for ages, and calling up that session, and it's working. You can hear the thing spinning away like crazy. So as I'm playing it, it's calling this information up. So once everything kind of buffers in queue, it normally doesn't peak out like it did. But I'm going to play it for you. Don't make fun of my singing, hopefully, but you'll get the idea. This was one of the songs I've been working on over the summer, and I just loaded it up just to see how much I could do to this thing, and I made it crash. So you can see, here we go. That's the CPU monitor, and you'll see this thing go crazy once the tracks start coming in. Hopefully it won't be too loud. You can see it's at 63% right now. Okay, so it's making a liar out of me now, but it's sitting at about 63% CPU. A lot of times is when this happens, it really starts paving, it starts jumping up and down. As more of these come up, you can see as more tracks start loading in, the harmonies. Anyways, it didn't do it at this moment. And looking at what's really nice about Studio One is you can really go in and kind of dive into where your resource hogs are. And I'm going to pull this up. So here under this CPU, let's take this down for a second. All right, now you can look here. This is in Presonus Studio One. I think you can see this in all the versions. I had 2 and then I went to 3, but it shows you performance here, and it's halfway already. already as I played that track, I can hear my hard drives kind of going crazy because it's calling up this information. But if I click on this, this performance monitor comes up. And when that performance monitor comes up, if you're showing any high CPU, like it starts jumping up here, so you can see it's like buffering, or it's going back and forth 54%. I click on this show devices, it's going to show me all of my plugins that I'm using. And this is a lot of plugins. You can see here, and it'll give you the percent of CPU usage. So as I'm playing the song, I'm just going to like turn the song down but you'll see these things kind of start jumping around a little bit. And they kind of pop in and out. And then you can kind of monitor what, where your problem is. So this is something just to kind of look at here. This Slate Digital FXG is one at 15%. So it's playing the audio back with like a mastering effect on it. And that's a resource hog. That's going to tell me something. That's going to give me an idea that maybe, I shouldn't be doing that. I shouldn't be putting that plug-in on this side during, I'm just recording. I'm just getting a basic general mix. I don't really need all of this stuff on here. And really, when you look at the mix effects and the post, the inserts and the post on that, you can do that in the project menu, which is another thing that I will discuss later on. But right there, as you can see, I'm using Steven Slate. It's FXG. This is a resource hog. If you can see my mouse there going. So I don't know. I just kind of wanted to discuss that as far as troubleshooting. You can change the dropout protection here, and I've seen on YouTube a couple different things about setting these to maximum and high. The default is minimum. I've never had any problem, but now as you can see, as this song goes on, this thing is really going up. And what happens is it just causes conflicts when you're trying to, say you're going to record, you have some latency, some different round trip problems because you got these things all engaged. So that's kind of what I was getting at today, was just talking about like CPU performance, computer performance, and what you could do to kind of identify if you're using Studio One. This is something to kind of look at, and this is pretty much across all formats of DAWs. That something to keep in mind of how your system's running, and it could really be a downer if you are overperforming, running everything too high, and just kind of overworking your system. It can turn into a pretty crappy experience as far as when you're being creative. So that's that. And let me see here. I'm trying to think what else I wanted to add to this. Well, anyways, that was the main thing. So it was just one. It kind of just came up, and I had to. I want to post this just to kind of keep that in mind. These are some of the challenges of when you have a home recording studio and you're on a limited budget. You got to think about some of the ways that you can work around that. And normally that's what it is you're just kind of getting some bumps and bruises along the way. Don't get frustrated. Just figure out ways of you can troubleshoot those kind of things so that you can have a better workflow as you record. That's always been one thing that I've always been mindful of, but I don't know why I had to do it on this song, and just see what my computer can handle, and it's a lot, and I normally don't do that. I don't load up the tracks that much. So anyways, that's about it. I hope everybody's doing good, and I'm going to work on my step-by-step process that I've been doing lately. As far as this is going to be one of the examples that I'm not going to have a problem with the CPU stuff, because I have some good patches. The way I'm recording without using any sort of plugins that are on the output side that are going to drain my CPU, and it makes a huge difference. I'm still getting the sounds I want, and I also have a chance to go back to basics with, I'm going to use EQ, I'm going to use compression, and then I can send pre or post fader to a mix bus, like a normal mixer in any mixing situation if you were running a live board. So, you know, good sound coming in, make it sound as great as you can. Do some EQing, panning, and I will discuss that. But that's really the extent of it. And until next time, have a great evening. See ya.